will actually need to be successful. So they're going to need financial resources, they're going to need sales resources, marketing, technical, and they're going to need from us, the vendor, some partner relationship management.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning into Channel Voices, the podcast for future channel leaders, where we learn the ins and outs of partner ecosystems through casual conversations with channel professionals from a variety of industries, partner types, and geographies. My name is Maciek, and I'm your host. In this episode, I have the pleasure to speak with a channel professional with vast channel experience in the technology sector on the subject of partner program design. Our guest has worked in multiple roles for tech giants like Oracle, Dell Technologies, and now leads partner program design globally for Google Cloud. She's been shortlisted in CRN's Women of the Channel 4 consecutive times and featured in CRN's Top 25 Channel Sales Leaders. Kim Lasseter, welcome to Channel Voices.
Oh, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for coming onto the show. There is a lot going on today within the channel. Given today's circumstances with the coronavirus and whatnot, we kind of lost that connection with partners. And most of the channel network where we used to go and visit and shake hands and sit down and discuss all the good things. Now we need to reconnect with the partners in a bit of a different way. And as I understand, you are somewhat of an expert when it comes to designing channel partner programs. So maybe we could start there, and you could tell us what you believe makes a successful partner program.
Absolutely. It's a bit of art and science for me. So the art is where you get to have the opportunity to be creative and to come up with some innovative ideas on how you might, frame up a partner program. And the science is making sure that some of the key tenets, if you will, are addressed early on in building a partner program. And one that I like to really stay centered on is making sure that you test everything against the customer, the actual end customer being at the center of the programs, because that's really what we're all trying to do is to, really serve the customer in the best way we can with the technology that we offer. And partners bring us, the opportunity to do that at scale. So if you keep the customer in the center of that building process around partner programs, it usually works out much better. And the partners get that connection and alignment. And I'll say the other piece that, really falls back to science as well for me is the outcome based. So we have to be super clear on what it is that we're looking for at the end of whatever the action, the incentive, the competency, whatever it happens to be. What is it that we actually think we're going to accomplish? And being, in the partner program world for about half of my career in high tech, which is over 18 plus. I don't like to say 20 plus because people can do the math easier. But being in this type of a role, you have to also be a bit humble and be willing to recognize when things are not actually getting you closer to that outcome so that you can iterate or, quite honestly, shut it down and start over.
Excellent. I suppose having the customer as at the center of the program, I really love that take on it. Do you speak also to end users when you think about designing a program or maybe changing something within the program?
Absolutely. It's a best practice that I picked up a few years ago is going and having customer focus groups and asking them, really specific questions about how do they select partners? What's the criteria that they look for? At what point do they expect vendors, like the high tech companies that have these partner programs to actually, step in and assist or help drive, support? What do they expect that we bring to the table for partners in the form of training, competency, all of the things that partners really need to be successful? And you'd be really surprised at some of the excellent insights that you get from customers. One of the questions we've asked in the past is, at what point do you expect to get that outcome or the value of whatever, technology solution implementation that you've actually had, contracted with for a partner? And those are really interesting discussions with customers because it'll vary by customer and by project, but you get a lot of insights on what matters to the customer. And then you just have to take that back and translate that into programs that enable the partners and that are super clear so that partners know if you do these things, then the customers will be able to recognize those types of, skills, attributes, capabilities, and be able to select you for, whatever it is that they're looking to solve from a complex business problem.
Right. And I suppose there's so many different types of partners today. We've gone to, we channel journey has happened fairly quickly and has evolved a lot over the years. And there's many different types of partners. There's the ISVs, there's the typical resellers, there's the SIs. Is there a possibility to develop a channel program that would fit all of the partners?
It's a great question. And I think it's been the great debate over the last probably 15 years in the industry is, do we build programs that are generic across all the partner types? Do we actually require the partners to come into a track as an ISV, as a reseller, and then build the details of the program, benefits, requirements, et cetera, in those tracks? I leaned towards what I think most analysts would tell you, which is partners really dislike being put in a box, and the sort of arbitrary or somewhat generic terms of yesteryear being labeled as such doesn't really inform, and it doesn't really describe the value that the partner brings. So most recently, both at a previous company that I've worked for and the company that I work for now, we've actually moved into build the program architecture based on the motion in the market. So if I'm going to a customer and I'm going to assess, architect, and sell a solution, that's a specific motion. If I'm actually going to build services, provide, support and or manage services, implementation services, that's a certain motion in the market. And then, obviously for our ISV, developer, application providers, those types of partners, they're actually building. They're building things and connecting them back to the technology. And that would be sort of this build or develop motion. That, I think, provides both the customer and the partner a viewpoint that's not necessarily a label. It's more emotion and what we bring to the table if we come through this path out to the marketplace. And then the other thing it does is it provides the partner the opportunity to do really focus on that selling motion, or to do all three and not necessarily have to qualify separately, sign separate contracts, do three different competency strategies. So I think it keeps it more simple for partners, and it still provides that clarity of, what's the outcome? What am I really going to do for that customer? And allows them to do it without a label. Because for me, on any given day, you can call a partner and say, hey, are you developing something today? Yes, we are. Okay, awesome. You call them the next day. Like, are you acting as a reseller for your customers? Well, yeah, they want us to transact for them. Okay. Well, are you doing this for them? The partners, even the ones that call themselves managed service providers do more today. They just offer more. They lean into areas as customers need them to. So for me, the labels just don't really work too well today. And I think that they're, somewhat self-select based on a day-to-day basis on what they're offering. And I really like the model that the company I work for today is really using, and that's focused on the motion in the market towards the customer.
Fantastic. Great insights. Thank you. That reminds me of what Jay McBain said in the last episode. He gave the example of going down from 26, I believe, down to 6 partner programs that they had running at a given time.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave the example of where partners actually hired full-time people just to be able to identify how they can actually make money with this vendor. So their job was to go through all the small print and understand of how are they actually going to be profitable.
Partners are amazing companies, and I love working with partners because they're super smart. And if we force them as a vendor to sign 5 different contracts with 5 different compensation packages, if you will, financial models based on what we think we want them to go do, they will absolutely do that. They will hire people. They will transact under whatever contract is most beneficial at that point in time. And that complexity, I'd rather see a partner actually take that investment and the resources and either invest in a full-time marketing staff that they don't have today, investing in the, digital marketing and really getting that up and running if they haven't already, invest in more technical resources, pre-sales, post-sales, invest in sales rather than to, bring in project managers to manage either the complexity of the incentives, the complexity of the requirements, and or to really, optimize across multiple different programs. To me, I totally understand why they do it. And if you've ever run a business with your own P&L, you absolutely have to. But I think it's upon us, the vendors, to help the partners spend their time, their hard-earned money, and their resources in areas that continue to grow their business in a way that aligns to what we're wanting them to go do in the market around our technology, as well as what the customers need them to go do.
Yeah, and I think there's a phrase I kept hearing, especially this year with the current situation, where vendors kind of fall into the trap a little bit, which they have set themselves, and treat partners as their employees, which isn't necessarily the right thing to do, right?
It's definitely, there's all kinds of wrong all over that. You don't want to get into the compliance challenges. You don't want to get into, any of the things that come along with that. They really are, part of the ecosystem. And I think if you take an ecosystem point of view, vendors will be better off, because then they can look at the entire ecosystem and see, where maybe the gaps are from a heat map standpoint. Do we need more partners here with these skills? Not as many partners over here, but the partners that are there actually need more of the technology and do a broader solution across more of the things that we, the vendor, bring to the market. But definitely do not want to try to manage them in a way that you would an actual employee. It usually does not go well.
I'm glad we're in agreement here. So you talked a little bit about you need to be flexible. You need to know what's going on in the market. You need to recognize the heat map, as you called it. So let's say you understand as a vendor. Let's say it's a new vendor on the market, and one of the go-to-market strategies is channel. And they understand roughly what types of partners or which of the partner brands they would like to work with. But they haven't defined really the partner program. If a company is to start a partner program from scratch, with very little experience, let's say, where would you start?
So if I were starting to build a program from scratch, I would want to make sure that first we understand the buyer. Who is our customer? How do we differentiate ourselves to the customer? And how does the customer want to purchase, transact, engage? What's that world look like? And then I think you can start building out that ecosystem of needs. What am I going to bring to the table as the new vendor to those customers based on how the customer wants to consume, purchase, leverage the technology that I'm bringing to the table? And then you can look at the ecosystem, as I said, and then start mapping out what the partners that you believe you need in your ecosystem will actually need to be successful. So they're going to need financial resources, they're going to need sales resources, marketing, technical, and they're going to need from us, the vendor, some partner relationship management, if you will, to bring the partners on board, to make sure that they understand what the program looks like, to make sure that they understand the clarity around, the motion in the market, what we bring to the table, how we differentiate, and how they complement what we do. And then you have to make sure that you have a way to touch those partners. So via a portal, a website, some form of a LMS, a learning management system to train them. A partner relationship management tool would be fantastic so that you know who your partners are, what they're doing, where they stand against the criteria. And I think if you start with that foundation and build out those key areas around a partner program requirement of, financial resources, which means how do we price things? What margin will be available to partners based on our pricing? Do we want to offer upfront margin with the back end rebates to ensure that we have some incremental dollars going back to the partners so that they can reinvest in the business that they're trying to build with, this new company? Do we want to offer, promotions or any type of spiffs to help, drive sales rep and or technical pre-sales behavior with the customers? Obviously the sales resources are around training, engagement, and support. And if we're looking to do, because we're new, to actually go out and capture net new customers, is that the primary driver that I want the partners to look for is net new logos? If so, I might want to do some form of a deal registration so that the partner can register the net new customer and have some, quote, protection on the investment that they're trying to make to go out there and win net new logos for us. We have to help them find the customers. So we'll need to bring in some marketing, support, potentially market development funds, training, the technical resources, obviously lots of training, certifications, potentially capabilities and support around product integration, depending upon what it is that we sell. And I think that if you leverage those key areas that partners actually look to for a vendor to build into the partner program, and then make sure that you've got the support, technology, resources, dollars behind that, I think then you can build that partner program, making sure that you've, again, identified who our customers are, how we differentiate ourselves, how the customer wants to consume and or purchase or leverage our technology. And then you build that piece into that partner program based on the ecosystem that you want to build. Because in most cases, I don't know the details of this new company, but in most cases, you're going to need different capabilities from different partners, some implementation or, potentially very focused managed services. If you have technology that's difficult for customers to manage on their own, you've got that whole, proof of concept, workshops and things that we might have partners do with us to go out and actually capture those new customers. So I would start always with the customer, make sure that you build into that the insights that you have there and go into sort of that program framework that I talked around, the financial aspects, the sales, marketing, and make sure that your program is simple. It doesn't sound very simple when I break it down like that, but you can keep it simple. Make sure it's simple, it's clear, and that there is both support and incentives and enablement aspects built into it. And then I think you'll be good to go.
Thank you very much. That's very, very detailed breakdown. I suppose sometimes vendors do overlook the importance of ease of doing business with them for their partners. Partners having so many choices today of vendors to partner with, I think they tend to go with those vendors or promote those vendors that really make it easy for them to work with, right?
I totally agree. And I think you were being kind when you said sometimes vendors forget that part. I think it is there's so many smart people in the world, and I love smart people. And the smarter you are, I think the tendency you have to build things that have complexity in them simply because you can. And partners will absolutely, I mean, the first and foremost, you have to have a product, a widget, technology, a solution that customers want. That's baseline. After you get past that, you really have to be easy to do business with. You have to be clear, supportive, engaging, and it cannot be super complex, or they will simply go to the next hot vendor with a technology that maybe is almost as good, but it's easier for me to sell and to get my profit out of it, because the partners aren't any more than the vendors are. They're not charitable organizations. They have to make a profit. They have to pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep their employees going. And in today's world, with, where we kicked off this chat around, the global pandemic and things being different than they've ever been, simplicity is key. It's the easier it is to do business, I think the better off all of the vendors will be, because partners will definitely flock to us.
Before this follow-up question, there was you talked a lot about who needs to be involved in creating a successful partner program from scratch. So what I heard is pretty much every single part of the company that should be involved in planning and designing a partner program. Did I hear that right?
Absolutely. And when I interview and hire people to join my team as a program manager, program design person, I will always tell them, if you don't like being the gooey stuff in the middle that holds everything together, it's probably not going to be a good role for you, because the partner program is that gooey stuff in the middle. We've got finance and legal and compliance and governance and the executives and our sales leaders and really everybody, technical support, break fix support, all of that has to come together into this clean and simple and easy to execute on partner program. So absolutely, you picked up on that perfectly.
And so you told us a lot about the good things that one should do in designing a partner program and how to work with partners. But what are some of the top don'ts when designing a partner program? Maybe you would have some examples.
I think the top don'ts will really be around complexity, not having a view of, you don't want to meet competition necessarily in the partner program world, but I think that you want to make sure that you are competitive in your offering, and that if you stack everything up end to end against some of the key players in your market, you should make sure that you look at it end to end. And I think a lot of the don'ts is discrete incentive surgical modifications, and you're not really looking at it, one, from a market standpoint and a competitive standpoint, as well as the stack end to end. I always like to say that I either save partners money or I make partners money in a program. So if you can put it into one of those buckets, we're either going to get them to market faster, we're going to save them costs on training and certification, we're going to do these things that save them money, or we're going to pay them, incent them, engage with them, and we're going to get them to market and to revenue faster, then those things are what you can, baseline it against. So a don't would be doing things discreetly and not looking at that sort of end to end package. The other thing that I would say is a don't is not paying attention to marketplace conflict. You have a hot net new technology or an existing technology with market presence. You don't want to build this conflict bound ecosystem. You don't want to restrain trade, and do anything that doesn't, fall into the proper compliance and ethics areas. But you certainly don't want to inadvertently drive, that negativity and that conflict into your ecosystem, because I think it's a distraction for the internal sellers, and a distraction for the partners, that should be actually focused on customer needs and keeping that customer satisfied. And I think that's probably a good list of don'ts. And I think I started with complexity, so I'll end with complexity. Just don't make it so hard to do that partners have to hire a staff of people to figure out, how to execute and then how to get paid.
Perfect. That's again very, very extensive. Thank you very much for sharing those with us. If you were to give anybody coming into the channel as a professional, be it young or maybe transitioning from inside sales or maybe transitioning from outside sales into the channel team within a vendor, what tips would you give them?
That's a great question. I made the transition myself in sales about, I would say, probably halfway into my sales portion of my career. And I got it. I knew I got it. And I basically just said, you have to hire me for this channel sales management role because I get it. It'd be the worst mistake you've ever made. And within 6 months, I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown because you sort of think you get it, but you don't really get it until you're in the thick of it. So my tips for somebody coming in new is understand how partners make money. Understand what the partner business models look like and what they value, and really get a sense of that core entrepreneurial spirit that partners typically bring to the table. And at that stage, I think that you'll get past that point that I was at, where I felt like, I was this orchestra conductor and my partners, are going to kind of go where I need them to go and do what I need them to do. You don't really have that much control. And if you think you do or pretend that you do, it's gonna come back and put you in the place I was very early on in my channel career. It really is about offering opportunity and coaching, helping be a business advisor to partners. And if you understand how they make money and where their challenges are and where they'd like to grow their business, you're going to do great in that role, because you'll be able to really just, here's some options. This is what we can do. Here's how this aligns. Those types of conversations will be great. And then you just put the pieces of the puzzle together with the partner. Okay, this is where we're headed. This is what we think we're going to do. This is how it benefits you and aligns to your customers' needs. Here's the pieces that the vendor brings that will help you get there, hopefully as fast as you are looking to get there. So it really is about understanding, I think, the core. If you don't understand how partners make money and how they run their business and really why they run and lead a partner company, I think you'll really struggle.
Excellent. That's a fantastic piece of advice. Many times I would have seen people coming into the channel, or maybe even on the inside sales, and having to work with channel partners on either a deregistration or an existing customer that a partner manages, and not rarely I would see a lot of conflict. And that would, in my opinion, come from not understanding what a partner is trying to do. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest flaws of people coming into the channel business or touching on the channel business, is basically maybe confusion, or maybe it's just a
Mm-hmm.
lack of understanding, and sometimes even ignorance.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's not a, yeah, like I said, I mean, I had to cross over my own self, um, and at times it was painful. But I would say that once you do, it's so much fun. I mean, really and truly, if you want to really love what you do, I'll recruit for partners right now. Working with partners is awesome. Smartest people, hardest working, willing to take a risk, willing to invest their own dollars, their own time, sometimes at their own peril, types of companies. And for the most part, really want to, and I'm going to say it, make the world a better place. I mean, that's really what they're trying to do, one customer at a time, through whatever special sauce they bring to the table. So I really love working with partners, and have done it for many years. And I think it would be a great career for a young, fresh college graduate that really wants to understand business and how businesses support other businesses, get them to where they want to go, but faster. So it's a great place to be. If you haven't tried it, you should come join us.
Mhm. Perfect. Thank you very much. Kim, before we wrap it up, is there any other things that you would like to tell us about, or is there maybe a question that I missed and should have asked?
Oh, a question that you missed and should have asked. I think you asked some really good questions. I will say that the one thing that I might just leave as parting um, insight, if you will, from experience. I'll go back to the comment about we either help partners make money or we save them money. And I see that vendors sometimes get into a trap. They fall into a trap where they feel like the only way they can work with partners is to ratchet up financial incentives that are, specific, either margins or rebates or promotions, things that have a dollar sign on them. And I would counsel, anybody starting from scratch or somebody coming in to a company that's got a program and they've been asked to rebuild it, to make sure that you take that balance sheet approach of, we're going to help save the partners money here, here, and here. And this is how we're going to help them make money. And some of that will come in the form of incentives. If you oversteer in that financial side of it, at some point in the timeline that you're on, that will become challenging to maintain. It really puts a box where you can never ratchet it back down, without having to feel the pain of an ecosystem that's counted on that financial model. So look for ways that you can build in innovative, creative, high value types of offerings in your save the partner money side of your balance sheet, and then manage really well the simplicity and the directional behaviors that you're looking for in that make the partner money side of the balance sheet, if you will. I think that that's something that a lot of people that have done partner programs through the years have probably learned more than once, where it's been a difficult conversation to have with your partner ecosystem, when you have to do turning down or turning off certain financial incentives because maybe you oversteered just a little. So that would just be my parting guidance, if you will, for anyone that's building and or trying to refresh a program, is make sure that you're balanced in your approach. And again, simple.
Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for letting us into your world, into the world of designing partner programs. It's been very informative. I learned a lot throughout the conversation. Thank you once again for coming on to Channel Voices.
It was my pleasure, and I so enjoyed it. I'd love the opportunity to come back someday.
We would love to have you again.
Thanks so much.
And that's a wrap for this episode. I do hope you found it valuable, and if you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow Channel Voices Podcast on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Or just visit channelvoices.com where you can send me a message or leave a voicemail. All of the links are listed in the show notes. And once again, I appreciate you tuning in today. Until next time.